Hello, alchemists. Today's question is, why can't you stop thinking about this person? If you've already chosen your card, check the timestamps below. If not, I'm going to give you a closer look. Doorway number 1, hope with a daffodil. Doorway number 2, healing with a geranium. Doorway number 3, wholeness with black mulberry. Choose your doorway, alchemists, and let's begin the great work. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. Why can't you stop thinking about this person? Now, of course, this could be romantic. It could be a friendship. It could be something going on at work. We will dig into that. Only you can know. The first thing I get with this is that you had a feeling with them of a certain kind of future, right? And like I said, that could be something along the lines of a relationship or how you pictured it, or it could be something along the lines of a dream about your job, anything like that. And that was likely shattered, right? So you really had expectations and hopes, and you can't stop thinking about how, like, I almost get a sense of like betrayal trauma here. And especially with this bull energy, stubbornness, but also because the daffodil's scientific name is narcissus, like narcissistic, so you were probably dealing with somebody who was very self-absorbed and stubborn, and it had a huge effect on you because it made you rethink what hope even meant to you, right? Maybe even what love meant to you. You probably have a sense of betrayal. And like I said, I get the feeling of how this changed your worldview and not just messed you up for a while. It was like a complete transformation of how you even viewed this kind of situation, whether it was professional, and interpersonal relationship. With the narcissist thing, you might have been dealing with a narcissist, or at least some narcissistic tendencies in this person. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at your shadow. Look at that. It's an invitation. You've struggled to cut ties with this person. You might have gone back to them over and over again. And it might even be that when you finally left, part of you hates them and part of you wants to go back into that situation. The cord here is not completely cut. So I would recommend, if you really want to let go of this person, do a cord cutting. Not like I'm not recommending doing anything with fire or anything. I mean, you do you, but safety first. But even just like picturing the cord between you and this person, if you want to let them go, and picturing literally taking scissors or giant golden shears or a golden light, whatever, and cutting that cord, in the energetic realm. Because staying connected, look, they're feeding off your light, but you're bleeding. So yeah, in your shadow, sorry, I jumped a little bit. This lizard just jumped on my window. So, so the idea of like the shocking nature of how quickly your hope turned to pain. I'm so sorry you went through this. This is an extremely painful commitment. For a lot of you, this was a romantic relationship, or it was a friendship where you felt like safe, or you felt like that you should feel safe. But here we're getting that cord tied again, right? And here we have like a dove and maybe a hawk or some kind of bird of prey. And that's kind of what the dynamic's been, right? You have this dove energy, like in the sense of like you want peace. You always tried to work things out. You always gave. You always reached toward them, leaned toward them. And even here you see that the dove has you took more of the emotional responsibility. And they were predatory, They took more. They took more. I get a sense of betrayal with this for sure. Success in reverse. Obstacles may be delaying your success, or you may feel burned out by the pursuit of achievement, neglecting other important areas of your life. You really thought that this was going to work out in your favor. You really thought that if you just worked hard enough, if you just hoped enough, if you just believed enough, that this person would change or this situation would change. But the truth is that you can't willpower your way to their success, right? And then there was the time afterwards where you maybe even manifest shamed yourself, like, oh, if I'd done more, oh, if I had really believed enough, clearly I didn't believe enough. Well, that's just some old wounds that have to do with the fact that, like, everything that goes wrong in your life is your fault, or everything that goes on in everyone's life is your fault, right? That's not true. We all need to take responsibility for what we do in this life, but we are not responsible for other people's actions, and you're not responsible to heal other people. You are only responsible to be the best version of yourself and shine that light on other people, and to get away from people who try to put a wet blanket on your shining light, or try to, that there's also the feeling of like an energy vampire here. Legacy lives on. A reminder that no matter what happens, you have yourself. You have, you need to love yourself enough to say, I know this hurts, and I know this is a nervous system pattern that makes me want to be around this person or be in this situation. But, I deserve better. I'm going to do better for my future self than I did for my past self. I didn't know better then, so I'm not going to beat myself up over it. But now I know better, I'm going to do better. And, like I always say, be gentle on yourself. We rise to the level of our wounds. So if you can only take one small step now, then that's fine. And then another step and another step. Move at the pace of integration. 2 of Cups. Yeah, for a lot of you, this was a painful separation. But it was also about you making a choice. I think you may have, like I said, kept going back, thinking that things were going to be different. And, just kept getting burned over and over again. Queen of Swords energy. 4 of Shields. The Hierophant. 6 of Spears. And the 9 of Cups. Okay. So what I get here is hard-earned wisdom and a feeling that you've had to strengthen your armor externally because of such a huge disappointment from the external, and a disillusionment with these situations, that you were kind of in a traditional situation and what was supposed to happen didn't happen because the other person of this didn't step up, right? And so now you're coming more into this Queen of Swords energy, and into this victory energy, and into this protective energy with the 9 of Cups over here. And I feel like that this betrayal and heartbreak, it cut something so deep because it was really reflecting an inner wound more than it was even reflecting the relationship itself. I get the feeling that this person probably love bombed you, and that doesn't even have to mean it was a romantic relationship. Friends can love bomb you, family can love, even co-workers can love bomb you, in the sense of like making you feel like that they really like you and that you're awesome, and that, just really lift you up, only to maybe do things behind your back and make you feel unworthy. This is the Cosmic Jester. It is a trickster deck that I made, and it is going to clarify our advice for today. But I really am feeling that this disillusionment, this feeling of betrayal, is what's bringing you into this Queen of Swords energy. Swords is cutting through the cord, coming back into yourself, your own inner peace. Not letting somebody else have the remote control to your nervous system. The moon wants to remind you that cycles aren't failures. So if you did go back to this person or the situation over and over again, be gentle with yourself. A lot of times that's your inner wound talking. And even with this, it says Tristram and Isolde. There's like, Two of Cups is kind of like the soulmate card, but there's such a despair feeling in this. This is the Arthurian Tarot. By the way, this is the first tarot deck I got when I was like 12 years old, was the Arthurian Tarot. Just a little sad. Accountability continues to be mistaken for hostility. This person likely got niggled into your brain through intermittent reinforcement, but also if you tried to hold them accountable, they'd probably start spewing out everything they thought you did wrong, right? And so I think that you can't stop thinking about this person because you are still confused because what they did and how they reacted to what you did didn't make sense. And over time you got confused thinking that you might have been being weird or crazy when really all you were doing was seeking direct answers. And when that kind of thing happens, you start doubting yourself to the point where you think that little things like saying, "How was your day?" that can become hostile in a situation with someone who has narcissistic tendencies or who is really self-absorbed or self-focused in an unhealthy way. The reflection in the mirror would like to be included in your compassion. You've been really hard on yourself because their voice is still in your head. And that's why you can't stop thinking about them. So this actually did not give us advice this time. Usually it does, but it really just opened it up more. The advice is obviously be more compassionate with yourself. But I would say the direct advice would be start living your life like this queen. Start asking trusted people or even strangers who, like you can call, I think 988 you can call. It's like a suicide hotline, but it's also like a, what do you call it? Like a help hotline. So like if you're just in crisis, like if you're really, so you can call that number if you're in the United States. I'm sure there's different ones for different places. And you can just tell them everything that's going on and get an objective viewpoint. Because a lot of times people, you're like, oh, well, they're just saying that because they're my best friend or blah, 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 blah. But getting a third party to tell you that you're not crazy. There's also a website called Out of the Fog that has a lot of great resources if you have been dealing with people who have narcissistic tendencies. And you can kind of look through and see that some of these behavioral patterns that you might have dealt with that made you feel crazy are tactics that are used by these kinds of people. Hold space. Yeah, hold space for your peace. That's going to go over here over the reflection in the mirror. Hold space for yourself, for your heart. Love endures. You are your soulmate. You are your best friend. You can still love someone and let them go because they're not healthy for you. Sometimes it's destroying the fantasy. Sometimes it's like you built it up in your mind in such a way that, your feelings and your thoughts are not really integrated or they're not in line. So remember to trust the logic. Do the thing where you picture that person doing what they did to you to somebody that you love, and if that's acceptable or not. And the reason is that a lot of times we will accept behavior we would not let people do to other people. We'll accept it on ourselves because we have that core wound that we're not good enough. But the universe continues. The universe goes on. Your life goes on. Hold space for your love. It's okay to grieve that you loved someone deeply and they hurt you. I think after that happens, a lot of times we'll feel really foolish, but don't. You're never foolish for loving. But we do often love from core wounds. We try to find, your nervous system wants to find what's familiar, not necessarily what's healthy. So focusing on the things that are going to bring you happiness, bring you health, bring you joy, that's what you should be doing. All right. Thank you for being here today, and I will see you next time. Continue the great work. Hello, Alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. Why can't you stop thinking about this person? You chose Geranium with healing. Okay. So with this, I get the feeling of a karmic connection. So the idea that you may have had a soul contract with this person to heal a certain core wound. And we're going to get into your shadow in a second with this Dixit card. And then from there, we will see. But my first impressions are that this connection probably left you very confused. And like I said, this doesn't necessarily mean romantic or anything. It could be in different situations. But that this was a catalyst for you for healing. And that doesn't mean you deserve negative things. A lot of people mistake that, right? That like soul contracts means that we were like, oh, treat me like garbage on earth. It's not like that. It's not like that, right? You do not deserve that. You did not ask for that. It's more like certain people will come into your lives and test your boundaries. And through that boundary test, which is sort of like a natural state, right? Because you rise to the level of your emotional wounds, your physical, like you just rise the level of your wounds, right? Like if you're going to go to the doctor because your stomach hurts, there's a level where you're tolerating it. And then there's some kind of catalyst. There's some second where the pain gets so bad you need to go to the doctor, right? It's the same thing emotionally. So with your healing, if someone comes into your life that is not healthy for you, but they feel safe, they feel comfortable, then you're going to draw them in until you can't tolerate it anymore, right? Rise to the level of your wounds. So part of not being able to stop thinking about them is that you are healing, that you are moving through this energy and beyond it. Let's look at your shadow work. Oh my gosh, this is the same card we got in doorway number 1, and they do feel deeply tied. Doorway 1 was kind of like dealing with someone with narcissistic tendencies. And it had Taurus, and this is Aries. So Aries energy. So that's actually really fascinating because we have kind of these, with horns, like kind of pushing. But we also have the feeling here of like that you had to cut a tie, or that you feel like you need to cut a tie in order to finally get to that healing well-being. Yeah, you are like with this card. So we have the moon, and then we have this lady like in this kind of shining light. Your well-being has been neglected for a long time in favor of whatever you were doing for this person, right? And you can't stop thinking about what you lost. But sometimes, let's see, let me make sure this is right. Yeah, there's a good chance that this was a romantic connection. Romantic energy is flowing, bringing sweetness and tenderness to your relationship. New sparks are flying. I want to pull an extra shadow card for this person because I'm getting... So in the shadow, it says showing that you're cutting some cords. Now, with that well-being card, it's like you've decided you're going to do what's best for you. But this romance card upright says that there's still a lot of love and there's still a lot of feelings. And that's probably why you can't get them off your mind. Because even though you want to heal and you want to be in your healthiest self, and you know that there's parts of this connection that are not healthy, you still... know that you need to do the healing, but you still feel such deep love. So their shadow. I get the feeling that they're the kind of person who always feels like scared to, it's so weird. So it's weird because it's like they're scared to commit to anything, while at the same, because they're afraid they'll be caged, while at the same time they have caged themselves, right? Their attitude, their way of approaching life, they don't see how love is freedom. They see love as restriction. And, that's their wound, but I just wanted to see what it was to kind of make sure that that romance card was understood correctly. And here we have forgive. I think one of the most important parts of this is, number one, remember that forgiveness, the most important person to forgive is yourself. Whatever happened in this relationship, the healing that is happening now is the gift that you're giving to yourself, right? But also, you can forgive other people if you feel like it, but you don't have to. I think that it's something you can do for yourself when you want to, when you feel it. But I don't think that there's some kind of cosmic judge saying you're less than because you can't forgive someone who did something really, really difficult or really painful to you. So forgive yourself, and, forgive yourself for what happened, but also forgive yourself for still feeling really attached to this person. Loving somebody is supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be the sweetness of life. It's supposed to be beautiful. And you guys had a great spark at the beginning, right? But now you've been getting burned. King of Shields. The Hermit. This person probably isolates themselves a lot. Seven of Swords. There was some kind of deception. Could be a third-party situation. Could just be their own self-deception, especially up against this Hermit card. Like where they get trapped into their mind all the time and they aren't giving you the attention and the grace that you give them. They are really self-absorbed in their own emotions. This is interesting. This is just like a dragon motif, but it's not an official card. And then Ace of Swords. Sword of Strange Hangings. With this, I feel like this person also has a thing where they want to always appear powerful and put together, but really inside there's a barrenness. There is a feeling of being, the mind being against itself. And then when you try to swoop in and help them, it becomes this sort of teacher-student mode. Or, if you are in a sort of co-creation, healing mode, but they are in defensive power over model mode, then they're going to feel like you are parenting them or that you're aggressive when you're really just trying to solve problems. I've literally had people in the past, I would just be talking to them in this voice and I would be like, oh, hey, it really hurts my feelings when you leave in the middle of a conversation. Do you mind in the future just making sure we say goodbye first? It's fine if you got to go do something else. Just, don't leave me hanging, please. And I would say just like that. And they'd be like, stop yelling at me. And I'm like, what? I'm not yelling. So a lot of people see directness as aggressive when really you're just trying to solve a problem, right? But then what can happen is they can take it as aggression and then it gets escalated and then you might actually start, over-explaining or even raising your voice, but you weren't at the beginning, right? All right, let's pull a few cards from my own Cosmic Jester deck. It's got a little bit of Sacred Trickster energy. Get some clarity here. The Cosmic Jester is here to remind you that self-sacrifice is not a personality type. Your whole life became about their healing when really it's supposed to be about your healing, right? Your life is your journey of healing. You can't save anybody else. You can inspire other people, right? You can inspire other people into their own growth, but you can't force them, right? It's time for you to stop sacrificing. It's time for you to start thriving. The Cosmic Jester has entered the chat. Dance first, overthink later. Especially with this energy, I'm getting the feeling that you've way overthought this. You probably made yourself smaller and smaller and smaller because their tolerance for anything is so low. They can't handle literally hardly anything when it comes to emotions. So this is an invitation to say, it still hurts, but I'm going to get out of my head And I'm going to go do something that makes me feel vibrant, that makes me feel alive, that makes me feel like myself again, that makes me feel for the last months or years or whatever, I have just basically been full-time emotional support person for this adult who really needs to do their own thing and come to their own healing. And one of the things that's really, really hard to accept is because obviously whatever anyone does, that's their responsibility, right? But when we enable people to walk all over us, to take advantage of us, that gives them, they'll push that boundary. They'll keep pushing it until they don't have to do anything and you have to do everything. You can be sweet and generous as well as terrifying and wrathful. You are a whole being. It is okay to let your anger come up. It's okay to still love them and be angry about how they treated you. So, your advice is to start taking good care of yourself, your health, your well-being. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if you have gotten sick because of the stress around this. So make sure you're getting the health care you need. Make sure you're getting the mental health you need. Make sure that you are doing things that make you feel joyful. Well, you can get them off of your mind, because you know what? They've already taken up so much bandwidth. They've already taken up so much of your energy that you're never getting back, right? Don't give them any more. I get very vampiric energy from this. Energy vampire. All right, beloved. Well, I will see you next time and continue the great work. Hello, alchemists, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. Why can't you stop thinking about this person? And here we have Wholeness with the black mulberry. Now, this is some Aquarius energy. And, you know, Aquarius is, it's officially an air sign, even though it's the water bearer. So I always picture Aquarius, A as the star, in tarot, which is the kind of renewal card after the tower. But also, Aquarius plays between the mind and the emotions, right? Because air signs are all about the mind. And so that part of it, that air sign energy, you're trying to solve this person, right? You're trying to solve it. You're trying to understand their whole self. You're trying to understand why things worked out the way they did. You're trying to understand your whole self in relation to what happened. And you know that in the past you have sacrificed your wholeness in order to be palatable. And you need to remember that if someone doesn't think, you do not have to edit yourself for readability. You are a whole person, and the right people will not ask you to do that. And you know, but you might say, Jazz, nobody asked me to do that. They don't have to. Their behavior can cause you to shrink. So let's say you try to directly solve a problem and you're like, hey, can we work on this together? And then they ghost you for a week and then come back and pretend nothing happened. They just trained you that they will withdraw love if you bring up any of your pain or your issues, even if you brought it up in the most friendly, nicest way. So you say, oh, I must be too much, and you make yourself smaller. And through that, you lose the feeling of wholeness. Also, mulberries are so good. Yeah, this person felt like a knight in shining armor, but really they were like a black hole, just taking, right? It felt like no matter what you gave, they just wanted to take, and it confused you with that Aquarius air energy. Your mind was trying to solve something. Your mind was trying to figure out what this story was, but the story kept changing. Wealth. Wealth is not just about money. It represents abundance in all areas of life. You are in a phase of prosperity and contentment. So when you can get this person out of your mind, when you can get back to your own wholeness, you will feel that abundance again. The one, like, because right now what I'm feeling in my chest is that this feeling of abundance. I feel like the feeling of like a gaping hole in your chest. and like just very painful, right? But that's not you. That's not yours. Once you let go of this energy and return to sender, right? Return to sender, you'll be back into this phase of prosperity and contentment, because you'll be working towards your wholeness again. And you're always whole, but like, we give away pieces of ourselves, right? We make ourselves smaller. We give people indirectly permission to do certain things or act certain ways through enabling. Everyone's behavior is their own responsibility. But sometimes if we are trained as children in certain ways, we might enable unhealthy behavior because we don't know better. When you know better, do better. But I'm feeling like this heaviness, not just in my chest, but in my throat. I feel like you've had to swallow injustices with this person. And so there's sort of a bitterness coming through with when you're thinking back, and that injustice, that bitterness is what is keeping them on your mind. Fertility. I mean, this could be literal, obviously, for some people, but also fertility is about new life, transmutation, becoming. So this is like, once again, pour back into yourself, your wholeness, right? Khalil Gibran, the poet, who I love so much, he has that poem, "Do not love half lovers, do not entertain half friends, do not indulge in the work of the half talented, do not live half a life, and do not die half a death." So coming back to your wholeness allows you to pour back into yourself, and then comes all this creative energy, and from that creative energy comes this abundance. But in your shadow is this feeling that this person is the key to all this, when really this person might be the blockade to all this, right? Oh, when they start acting right, then everything's going to fall into place and I'll have everything I want. You have to decide, like, because a lot of, people will often, you have to trust someone when they show you who they are. You can't hope that they're going to be someone different in 6 months or 5 years. Maybe they'll change, maybe they won't. But do you really want to put your future on hold for that? Pour back into yourself. Return to yourself. Return to yourself. I love it. It's exactly what you need to do. Being your own light, being your own joy. And like I said, I feel almost nauseated because this feeling for you is like so foreign. Like you've been overdoing the people pleasing. You've been overdoing the making yourself smaller since you were a kid, because that's basically what you were trained to do. You were basically told directly or indirectly that your true self isn't right and it's not good enough or whatever. And so you made yourself smaller and smaller. And like I said, the injustice of that, you're starting to realize that why did I have to cut off pieces of my soul? Because that person can't handle my vibrance. And you're ready to get back into that energy, returning to yourself. But I just want to say, the feelings I'm having in my chest and throat are so strong. So just remember, you're a strong person. And even though this stings really, really bad, you've got this. You are strong. You are powerful. Okay. We have the 4 of Spears, the 2 of Shields, the 5 of Spears, the 4 of Shields, the 5 of Swords, and the Empress. Okay. Like I was saying, there's a lot of painful energy here with this 5 of Spears and 5 of Swords. Despair, sadness, heaviness, disillusionment. You always were trying to balance all of these things, right? You had this dream of this beautiful, happy home that was safe and secure. But it didn't work out that way, right? Sometimes the dream becomes a nightmare. But when you get back into your energy, you can come back to this through this Empress energy. This Empress energy is the energy that you need to embody in order to get back to that abundance. The Empress is nurturing, but not self-sacrificing. The Empress is also representing fertility, right? Once again, and in this specific one, take a look at this with Guinevere here. This looks like orange, like she's holding a sacral chakra, right? And it's right over the area of the sacral chakra, which is your seat of creativity. So creativity is the key. Feeding that fertile energy is the key. So now we're going to pull a few cards from my Trickster deck, the Cosmic Jester, and see what it has to say for you today. Let's see what the Cosmic Jester has to say. I'm so delighted you're here. And I'm already feeling a relief in that energy a little bit. So I know that this, if you resonate with this pile and it's hitting home for you, this is just validation of what you already knew. Now is a good time to start disappointing your inner critic. You don't have to be everything. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't have to try and heal other people who need to heal themselves. The inner critic is rarely your voice. The inner critic is almost always someone's voice from the past that got embedded in your mind when you were a child. So one thing that me and my friends do is we name it. So we might be like, okay, Brittany. So my name is Jazz, but I might have named it Brittany or something. I'll be like, Brittany, stop. You have no power here, or whatever, you know. But the other one is that, like, you know, there's the idea of archons and Gnosticism, which are like thought forms that attach to people. So almost like dark spirits that attach to people, if you want to put it that way, like egregores, thought forms, archons. And so one of the things that I do, besides being like, stop it, Brittany, is I say, in my head, I might be like, gosh, Jazz, you're so stupid. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. An archon would say that. Because an archon would say that. But I'm not going to say that to myself. Right? So that's a good way to start disappointing your inner critic, is being like, that inner critic is not even me. That inner critic is someone who was mean to me as a kid, or someone who put me down because they were hurting. That doesn't excuse what they did, but they have I'm not going to give them the room in my brain. And you know what? If you can't do it for yourself, do it out of spite. People are always like, blah, blah. No. I love this song by Paris Paloma called As Good a Reason. And one of the things she says is every time you are succeeding, there's an old man somewhere seething, and spite's as good a reason to take his power. Yeah. That kind of toxic energy pulls and takes away your power and makes you feel like you're doing something wrong just for taking your power back. Take your power back. It's your power. Don't let them get into your head, right? It's way past time that you start making the universe a little bit weirder. There is such a call here to find your wholeness and be yourself, even if that doesn't align with whatever you thought was right. Even if someone else can't handle your wholeness, good. You know, there's a card in here that says something like, if your weirdness chases someone off, it's working as intended. This is not an old German folktale. Do not follow the breadcrumbs. If someone is breadcrumbing you or has breadcrumbed you, you deserve a whole block of bakeries. You do not deserve grody ass little morsels that they feed you. You know, you are vibrant. You are alive. They are feeding on you because of that light. And then they get upset with you when you don't shine anymore. You need to get out of any situation that makes you feel smaller. So getting your mind off of them and onto yourself is your goal. And it's going to take time. You know, get involved in your projects. Creativity has come up over and over again in this. Do some meditations on your sacral chakra. So the orange glowing ball in your lower abdomen, that's the seat of your creativity. Even if you're like, I'm going to write one sentence because I'm a writer, or I'm going to put one Lego on my Lego Millennium Falcon because I like to do, whatever it is, do one thing, 5 seconds. Sometimes you'll keep going with it, sometimes you won't, but every day, do that one thing for you. Whatever you can do to get out of your head long enough to get an objective viewpoint, right? If you've been hooked on tarot readings or anything about this person coming back or about this person's behavior, I want to remind you, you do not have to understand why they're doing it. As an air energy with this, you want to understand why, because it doesn't make sense to you. But so many people are working from everyone's working from their unconscious, their subconscious mind. But most people aren't in touch with it. So it's controlling their lives. Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And that's what happened here. So if you waste your life away trying to understand why they did what they did, instead of just seeing the evidence and deciding how to move forward based on how they're acting, you're going to be really stuck in confusion for a long time, right? And you know what? Like I said, that's a hard pill to swallow. That's why I'm feeling that pain in my throat still. It's not even like, it's like a lump, right? It's like you want to know that there was a reason for all of the suffering you went through with this person. But sometimes you just have to cut your losses and just say, you know what? It's not me, it's them. So I'm just going to move on and I'm going to make my life beautiful and vibrant. And you deserve that. All right, beloved alchemist. I will see you next time. You've got this. Do those, if you can, do those meditations to clear out your sacral, your heart, and your throat chakras. I'm sure there's a million YouTube channels or whatever online. If you're getting hooked into tarot loops around love, because there's a lot of tarot readers who kind of keep you stuck in that they're coming back loop or or they're thinking about you and stuff. And, make sure that you wean yourself off of that, because that's going to keep you stuck, going to keep them stuck on your mind. And what you need to do is get yourself focused back on yourself. And, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the healing work, because one person that heals the world helps heal the entire world. When you heal yourself, you help heal the whole world. I'll see you next time.